What's up, guys? Time to throw the 3-3 back together. Slammed some new Boca bearings in it. Cleaned it up real quick. This was a super new motor, so I didn't have to do a whole lot of cleaning to it. So let's throw it back together. It's ready to go. Like I said, new bearings in it. These ones went way easier than any of my old motors did. So since the bearings are done, we'll throw a little bit of after run oil on them down here in the bottom of it. Once again, Adam Drake mix. Don't be scared with this stuff, it's cheap. And I don't think you can ever have too much lube, honestly. Should probably put something down. There we go. And in goes the crankshaft. We'll coat this up just a little bit because it is steel and would rust if we gave it the chance, so let's don't. The crank pin, beautiful, and we drop her in there. Slides right in, easy peasy. Cool, crankshaft in. Next up, put the piston in. Long side of the sleeve goes to the exhaust port. Put her in there. And the way I like to do this is you just start with the piston in your hand, and while the pin's up at the top, you can work it to get enough angle in the wrist pin or in the connecting rod, and get it over the oh shit, this is a little bit tough, man. It's a fiddly process, I'll say that. Maybe there we go. Get her to tip away just enough to get over, and then we want to slide it all together, make sure it's not all bindy. There we go. Pistons in. And while we're here, just because we can, and I like using it because it's so goddamn cheap. Once again, it's the Adam Drake mix that you can go to Walmart and have a literal endless supply of for less than $10. It's 20% WD-40 and 80% Marvel Mystery Oil. Comes in a big giant red bottle. So next we'll put the sleeve in. Make sure the notch goes to the correct spot on the block. And we'll slip the sleeve in here. Just get her jiving with the piston nicely. Line up the notch with the pin. Slide it in very carefully. And we're home. Sleeve in. Cool. So that's all put together. While we're here, once again, some after run oil, Adam Drake's special sauce. This engine's just hella wet. I'm not planning on running it anytime really soon, so a solid coating is not going to hurt anything. So what if it runs a little bit rough at the beginning? It's just going to burn all this off and be stoked about life because it's lubey. So next we'll get the back plate on. Just give your starter shaft a little push out so you can see where the notch goes on the crank. These are not directionally dependent. Whoops, don't drop screws like that. So you don't really need to worry which side of the starter shaft goes on there. Put her in. And the way I like to see if they're meshing is I'll spin it. And if I can see the piston going up and down, then we're ready to go. So, like that. You guys can see, spinning the starter shaft. And then we'll seat the O-ring just because I can once again, and I don't like going in dry. Put a little bit of lubage on this O-ring. And slide and pop, nice, nice. Then we'll lock down these screws. Once again, star pattern. Whoops. Boom, there we go. So just like barely snug down on all four of these, and then we'll go back through and tighten them just a little bit. Everything on these motors is going into aluminum, so you do not need to go absolute super mega beef. Pull it down nicely, and then we'll start giving it a turn and a turn and get in there. There we go. And a turn and a turn, and now 1/2 a human ugga dugga. Nice. Just a half of one. You don't want to give it a full ugga dugga. There we go. Just like that. Next up, let's put the head on. So you have to line these up correctly so that all of the slots in the head go down and you can access the como se dice, screws, the engine mount screws. It's a little bit tight, so just make sure it's oriented correctly and all the slots are lining up. You can only put it on one way anyway, so on we go. Get her slotted. Once again, star pattern. Just get them to where they're drawing themselves down. And it like stops just spinning freely like that. Like I'm twisting on this and it just stops. So that's the spot we want it to be for the first round. In we go. Nice and light. This is all about a light touch. My boss at work is notorious for making things way too tight, and obviously his stuff doesn't come apart, but man, it's a fight when he locks some stuff down and destroys some paint, and then we got to take it back apart. It's like, man, you made it too tight. You're notorious for that. So this is number 5, and we're to that point. So at this point, one more half a human ugga dugga. Oh, you want to know what? I forgot my shim. See? Telling you guys. It's easy. Not surprised I did that at all. Off you come. We'll see. I'm also at a very high altitude, so maybe putting a little more compression in these things isn't the worst, but at the same time, they're just basher motors, and I would love if I didn't have to replace them super often. So we'll keep the copperhead shim in there. Don't be dumb, because I'm a dum-dum sometimes. Some days. Off you come. Dink. And got the cooling head. Whoa, that was weird. We'll put it on the head side. And it's sticking. Little hair on the bottom. That's fun. Make sure that doesn't go in the motor. This is a bit of an oily process, especially if you soak the whole thing in oil like I'm doing here. back together we go. Let's get them all started. Go. Sure we're all sitting nice and pretty. Get to that just slipping through your fingers tightness. Very focused if you couldn't tell. At some point this winter I'm going to try to take the anodizing off of these cooling heads because blue is not exactly my favorite thing. There we go. Just got to find the hole. You guys know how that goes. Got to find the hole some days. Hour later and we're all over it, but by God I found that hole. Cool, cool, cool. Getting this shit done. And now we go back through and one human ugga dugga. Good. Kind of feel it stop. And you just want to get it to that point because that's where everything is drawn together fully and there's no more give, is when these bolts will hit kind of a hard stop and you don't need to go anything past that. All we need right there. Cool. Cooling head on. Next up, clean your hands because I'm now an oily ass mess. Gross. Clean up the top. There we go. So next up, we'll throw the old pole starter on it. Once again, got to make sure this goes in the correct orientation. And we'll make sure our little shim goes in on the starter shaft. Start there. Then one-way bearing, flat side. There's one side that has no protruding silver section in the center. That silver section in the center goes towards the outside of the pole starter. So we put the flat side into the motor. Then we get our two flat spots on the starter lined up and twist it till it's right. You can hear this thing making compression right now. It's pretty sweet. It's spinning a little bit. Now get this guy, and this one's plastic, so we don't have to worry about torquing it down in a square pattern or in a star pattern or anything, because it's plastic and it's not going to warp. So if it's going to warp, it's already done it. And this is not a sealing surface, so we're not too worried about it. Hope you guys are doing good. Drop a comment, leave a like, hit the subscribe button. You know, I'm just getting started out, and seems like I might get views, but not very many, and I would love to be able to get the engagement up a little bit, get some talking in with you guys, ask away any questions that you have, maybe talking through or typing through whatever you're working with will help me understand nitro motors a little bit better. I'm trying to keep this shit alive as long as I can, so drop a comment, leave a like, you know the deal. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking out the video. Almost tight. Last one. Some late night RC fun. These ones are even less important to have very tight. I'd be dripping everywhere. Gross. Gross. Cool. So, next up, I'm gonna go get a fresh OS carburetor for this thing that I rebuilt. Here we go. So this here is an OS 11K carburetor. They hold a tune way better than a Traxxas carburetor. They're aluminum as opposed to plastic, so they don't crack on you. Big old woo pow, bigger venturi for the air to flow through to feed a big 3.3, because these carburetors were designed to work with way smaller motors like the 2.5 and the 3.3, but they choke the 3.3 just a little bit. So we're going to something that's even bigger than a 3.3 because we can. So these things fit together just like it's exactly the same bore size once you have the thermal insulator on it. Just get the O-rings seated down together and grab our wrench, push down the carburetor while you tighten, just to make sure those O-rings are nicely clamped down. And another half a human ugga-dugga. Much force as you can put on these two little ears, that's all you want to do. This one is a steel shaft, so just to keep it locked down a little bit more, we'll give her half a bit. And there's no threads on this side that it's going into anyway, so alrighty. It's starting to look like a motor, huh? We're gonna put on our little cooling head protector. Once again, you can't have the screws in it when you do this, and there's also only one orientation this will slip in there. Just make sure all the slots for the screws are in the right spot and work around it. Boom, click, 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 click. Just like that. And we drop the screws in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 'cause I'm lonely. Ding, 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 ding. Wanna die. I wish we could put music in these videos, man. I got such a nasty library, but I don't want a copyright strike. I don't want the YouTube bitching at me because they're a bunch of pussies, man. I don't like them. Get offended. Stay offended. If you don't like it, don't watch my channel. But I'm a nice guy. You guys know. I just like cussing. Like a trucker. Got a foul mouth. I don't care. You shouldn't either. Throat was getting a bit dry. Colorado. It's dry here. There we go. Now I'm robbing the clutch from this thing to go on the OS21 into the Slayer, because there are other things broken on the Nitro Slash that this motor belongs in. So its clutch is getting poached, and I'll pick up a new one eventually. I smoked my Buku clutch, and I'm very, very sad about it because parts are unavailable for it. They went under almost right after I bought it 8 or 10 years ago, unfortunately. So next up, I do have another flywheel for that motor, so we're gonna at least put our little flywheel cone and the flywheel on this motor like that. Put the flywheel nut on. This one doesn't have to be massively tight. We're gonna take our channel locks still. Hold the flywheel gently. We don't want mar up or destroy any of these little teeth on the outside of the flywheel. That's no bueno. But let me give it turns and 3/4 of a human Ugga Dugga. This one's a little bit bigger and it's on a steel shaft, so it also spins and there's a lot of vibration in this area. So we're just gonna take care of it. Hope we help it out a little bit. There we go. Last thing, exhaust header. This already has its gasket on it. Unnecessary to lube this one. Maybe at one point we will go through these motors and open up the exhaust port, or at least the exhaust passage. I don't really want to work on the sleeve very bad, but engines are air pumps, and if you can get more air out, then the amount of fresh air that gets into a two-stroke motor at least is way higher. So they really benefit from more exhaust flow, and it's just port matching basically, hopefully, with this manifold. Get these two tight. Once again, about half a human Ugga Dugga. Pull them down tight first and then give them the twist, and boom, that's a reassembled Traxxas 3.3. What we're gonna do now is put these wonderful plugs I found, because I'm lucky and I like plugging shit, and slip it on there. Put this one on the exhaust port, and this one on the fuel inlet nipple. And there we go. A freshly rebuilt, resealed, and upgraded slightly Traxxas 3.3. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and we'll check you later.